Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Chicago Techies podcast, a podcast focused on highlighting the voices of Chicago Techies and their experiences. I'm your host, Ceci Fischer-Benitez. Thank you for joining us. On today's episode, I'm doing something a little different. This will be the season 1 finale, and I am joined by my wife, Gabby Fischer-Benitez, who came up with the cool idea of closing the year with me and allowing myself to share my story with you all. So this will be fun, and I apologize in advance. This is going to be an interesting episode because this is something that I've never done before. So I am here with Gabby. Gabby, thanks for being here with me and
welcome
and volunteering to chat with me on the season finale of the Chicago Techies podcast. So for those who don't know, Gabby is my wife and also a youth and adolescent therapist. And she's wonderful at it and works here in Chicago.
Thanks, babe. I'm also awesome.
So before we start, I usually ask people to say their names and their pronouns, where they're from, and their current role. So I'm going to say it first, and then you can go ahead and say yours. So my name is Cecilia or Ceci Fischer-Benitez. I use she, her pronouns. I am from Mexico, born and raised, but moved here when I was 11. And my current role, I work at Code for America as a program specialist for the network team. So
Hi.
Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Gabrielle or Gabby Fischer-Benitez. She, her pronouns. I am from here, not Chicago, small town of Galesburg, Illinois. And I am a child and adolescent therapist at Trilogy Behavioral Health Care.
Awesome. Okay. So this is so far so good, right? This is looking good. So we decided to do it was actually your idea.
Yeah. Can I introduce it?
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Well, you're a very interesting person interviewing very interesting people. But I think that you should also have your story heard because you are also a member of the Chicago Techies. And so I wanted to interview you for your final episode. And I think people are going to be excited about it. So, Ceci, why don't... Stop laughing.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Ceci, let's start off with... what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you always know you wanted to be in the tech field? I know the answer to this, but what did you want to be when you grew up, when you were little?
Yeah, I mean, I think either it was an astronaut, that was one of them, or a soccer player. I didn't really know what it took to be either. I just knew that for soccer, it was easy because I loved it and I could play it. But growing up, I wasn't sure. I always saw like NASA stuff being on the news, and I was like, "That's super cool. What if I want to go to like the moon? I want to do it." I'm like, "Can't be that hard." So I always thought I wanted to kind of be an astronaut and go to space, but obviously, like that was quickly not happening.
What planet would you have liked to have gone to?
I mean, Mars. Like, I feel like that's like the first, thing that comes to mind. Like our neighbors in Mars. Like, what's up there? You never know.
Okay, Mars. Okay, so you wanted to be an astronaut or a soccer player. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then what?
Well, at the age of 11, we, moved to the U.S. So obviously, growing up in Mexico was a whole different story. And then coming here, everything kind of changed. But I mean, I don't know. I was 11. All I wanted to do was learn English first and then worry about learning anything else. That was really my main priority first, learning English and kind of getting familiar with what was going on here, like the culture, all that.
When you got here and you started to, go to school here and learn English, did those aspirations change much? Did you, I guess, learn anything else, like anything that may have sparked a different interest as you grew?
Yeah, sort of. I remember like in high school, obviously like the whole astronaut thing was starting to just kind of look crazy and hard. So, and just not realistic, I guess, because not a lot of people that I knew were going into that field. So I was just starting to get really curious about computers. Like I remember having a computer class, and it was just a typing class in 7th grade or 8th grade, actually. But I just had this like major curiosity for it, and I just wanted to learn more about it. So in high school, I ended up taking like a computer art class and then a graphic design class, and like learning more about Photoshop. And I thought like my sophomore year, going into junior year, I thought I wanted to change and like become a graphic designer. But then like, as I took the next course of graphic design, I realized that I really didn't have much creativity. And maybe that wasn't what I wanted to do. And so by senior year, I really liked reading, Spanish reading. Like I loved Spanish books and reading, and it was just something that I kind of, I was always doing. So I ended up thinking that maybe I wanted to be a teacher, maybe a Spanish teacher, for native speakers, for kids that only spoke Spanish, because in Spanish classes here in the US, it's mostly like super easy stuff. Obviously, a lot of the kids that are Spanish speakers don't get to take Spanish because they already know it. So those Spanish classes that are designed for Spanish speakers, I came across that class my junior and senior year, and it was so fun. It was challenging. We were reading books, we were writing essays, all in Spanish, and I just thought I wanted to give that experience to other kids. So by high school, I thought I wanted to be a Spanish teacher.
What piece of literature was your favorite?
Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Cien Años de Soledad, was one of them. 100 Years of Solitude. There were poems too by Octavio Paz, and the House of Mango Street. Isabel Allende had also La Casa de los Espíritus, the House of the Spirits. So I read quite a few books then, and those were kind of like some of my favorite books that I was really kind of into sharing with the world. Yeah.
So you discovered that passion in high school then. So after high school, what did you do?
Yeah, I went to school, college. I did community college first at College of the Page, and then I went to NIU. After that, I transferred to NIU, where we met.
I know that part.
And I decided to major in Spanish language and literature. So as you can see, like that whole Spanish thing was kind of coming back, and I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is what I should do. So I did all of that, and loved it. I read a lot of books and was all about it, and was ready to move to Chicago to become a teacher.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. So you majored in that. Okay. And so then after school, when you're all finished, you came to Chicago. Okay. And I know that was quite an adventure.
Yeah.
Have you shared about that adventure here, or is that too big of a story?
Which adventure?
Just coming to the city with 2 bags and
yeah, I haven't said that much. Yeah. And going in with no job.
Yeah. You just had to do it.
Yeah. So right after college, like I decided to just move to the city because I didn't want to go back home. I didn't want to be at my house like with my parents. Like I just wanted to do something else. And my sister was already here in the city working. She went to Loyola. So I decided that I called her up and I was like, hey, so can I move in? No, can I stay with you for a couple of weeks while I try to figure out while I find a place to stay and while I find a job? And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm giving myself 14 days to find a job and find a place to live. Can I come? And she's like, sure. And I packed all my belongings, which was 2 full garbage bags of, of clothes and some items, like personal items. But like, yeah, I had two garbage bags and went to the city and stayed with my sister in her couch for, those 2 weeks. And I ended up like not having a clue what I wanted to do, but there was something that I was kind of aspiring to or toward. There was this AmeriCorps program called Public Allies that my sister had done in the past, and I really wanted to do and get into because it was sort of a fellowship program that would place you eventually in a nonprofit or an education institution, and I figured like that could be fun, like that could potentially put me where I want to go. And so, but there were 3 months before that happened. Like we weren't going to find out for another 3 months if I got the fellowship. So I came in and I applied to so many jobs, like at restaurants, at stores, and just quick jobs while I waited to September to see if I got that fellowship. So I ended up, after 3 days, like I was applying for everywhere on all the websites. And then the third day I came across this hiring event for Chipotle. And I'm like, Chipotle's hiring. I'm going to do that. I'll try that. And I ended up applying. And
sounds like my dream. I think I would make a burrito every day.
I can't
just be a little burrito.
Yeah. So I did apply, and I got a call right away too. I wonder if it was because I'm Mexican. I don't know, but so I ended up getting that job at Chipotle after 4 days. And then shortly after that, the landlord at my sister's apartment, this is all no joke, all happened in one day. The lady comes in to kind of do I don't know, a cleanup or something. And then my sister had asked her if I could stay in there, and they had this kind of room in the back that was literally a closet, really, but was enough to fit a bed in there. And then when the lady realized that I had moved in for a couple of days before I found another place, she kind of just looked at me and said, "So you're looking for a new place?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just coming in here right after school. I'm looking for a place to live because I just got a job," but I didn't tell her where. So she's like, "Oh my God," she's like, "Huh? Well, how are you finding this space?" And it was really little. You remember the space, right? It was this little closet with a bed. And I'm like, this is fine. I mean, I don't have much. I only have these 2 bags, these garbage bags. And then she's like, well, this might be a little silly, but what if we just put a door here? We can create another room for you if you're willing to pay rent. And then split the bills with the other 2, with your sister and with her roommate. My sister and I just kind of looked at each other for real, what? And I ended up, and I was like, yeah, I would love this, because it was just a little tiny bed and a little closet. But I was like, I'm down if you're down. And I ended up finding a place to live and a job all in the same day.
Hey, it sounds like it was meant to be. You're meant to be here.
Yeah, it was really funny, but
that's awesome.
That was my first experience moving to the city, and right before starting a job at Chipotle.
Yeah, I have always known you to be very ambitious, very determined. So I don't find that hard to believe at all. When you told me this the first time, it made a lot of sense. So then you were at Chipotle. So what ended up happening with the AmeriCorps role?
Yeah. So fast forward to that whole summer, really, because that summer I spent working at Chipotle. That after 3 months at Chipotle, I finally get an email from the organization, and they're moving forward with me for interviewing. Because we were already done like with the application process, or was it interviewing? Yeah, it was like a final interview that everybody had to go through. And I think it was just mostly to confirm like if this was the right fit. So I ended up getting it like right, the first week of September, and I was so excited. I was so excited that I had this chance, and you don't really know where you're going to be placed yet, but it was something that Michelle Obama used to be endorsed. She used to be the executive director back in the 80s before she left and did other things in Chicago, I guess, before going to, be first lady. So yeah, and I got it and ended up putting my 2 weeks at Chipotle, and then that experience started.
That's awesome. That's great. So how long, tell me, because I know this, but how long was the AmeriCorps program when you were in it?
It was a 10-month program. Okay. But you were placed at a local nonprofit or a school. And then you had, your project for 10 months. And most of the time we heard that like at least 75% of the fellows that went through the program would get a job offer at those organizations right after. So I was really hoping that I was placed at a good place that I would enjoy and liked, because I was trying to get that offer as well from the organization. So I actually ended up getting placed at a school in the south side of Chicago.
Okay, so you got placed at ACE. That was a whole experience. I mean, because you not only were in charge of all of your duties at the school, but you were also a soccer coach. You were like a mentor. You were, it seemed like a very good fit for you. And so then I know after that 10 months, then you were hired.
Yeah. So I was placed at ACE Technical Charter High School. And after that, I spent my 10 months there doing, I guess, helping with their development stuff, but it was mostly really recruiting for the next class. So there was a lot of things that I was responsible for in the main office, but one of them was the majority of the responsibilities were recruiting and retention for high school freshmen each year. So that 10 months was really fun though. Like I had a lot of energy. I brought a lot to the team and it was great. And yeah, I was after that role full time. And I also got to do some really cool things like coach the girls soccer team and do really cool after school things with the students.
And I know that one of the things that brought you like really back to tech was something while you were at ACE.
Yeah.
Right. Can you share a little bit about it?
Yeah, I was approached by Chick Tech. They were doing I think that it was their first high school kickoff that was essentially going to be like a weekend downtown where they were going to teach high school girls how to code, how to make apps, how to make little like STEM projects. And that was really my first introduction to like kind of like a peek at the tech community, just because it was something that I wasn't, that I didn't know much about. I just noticed a lot of tech going on because of Facebook and Twitter and all the things that were popping up. So I was like, this sounds like a really cool opportunity for these girls. Like, it sounds like they would really enjoy this. So why not? I should bring them to this event. And I loved it.
That sounds really awesome. And like such a great opportunity for them as well. So you then this transition into tech, how did that come about? Your career change?
Yeah, you remember this?
I remember
this. So yeah, like literally that year. So after 5 years, after 5 years of tech, because fast forward 5 years, and I'm starting to get tired and I'm starting to get bored. You remember this too. And then, it just kind of all happened really quickly. But the year that we got married in 2016, after coming back from our honeymoon, may I add, that same week, I go into work, back to work for the new school year, and the principal comes out and calls me to his office and notifies me that my role is being cut because of the budget crisis of that year. And there were like at least 8 of us staff members that had to be let go. Mm-hmm. So I was laid off, and that was really hard at first. But it was also kind of like a blessing in disguise. It was something that I needed. I was already starting to feel really bored. I feel really stuck. And it was just a good thing that happened in the end.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with you about what was next and what sounded really fun and interesting for me. And I had been following a lot of different trends, I guess, you could say, in tech. And I was really curious about it. I wasn't even sure what I wanted to do, but I knew that there was something there that I was really curious about. So I started attending so many meetups, and I decided that I was going to apply to customer service roles because I was really curious just to see what I could possibly bring to tech. And yeah, I started applying to so many customer.
Yeah, I remember that that time. It was, I felt like you were gone so much because it seemed like every evening you were attending a workshop or a talk or some kind of like networking event just to learn and to get yourself out there.
Yeah, I mean, I went to every single meetup in Chicago, I think. I went to an intro to Ruby, intro to Rails, intro to like Python, JavaScript, like all the languages, also like project management and data science, and just to really kind of just grasp and understand what were all the roles and then where do I fit, so that was a really exciting time, also kind of scary, but I just knew that I was being called for something. I just didn't know what, and I had to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you got a shot, right? Like,
yeah, I got my first shot, like at a Groupon. I did customer service at Groupon for 9 months. But even throughout those 9 months, while I was doing like 3 months of research before this job, I did another like 9 months of research. Like I kept going to so many more events and so many things. And by then I kind of knew that what were some of the roles that I could possibly work on, whether that was outreach or like, or, HR or something along those lines. To obviously right away, I noticed there were many people of color in tech. So that was kind of like one of my hidden talents that I wanted to prove that I could help bring more people of color into tech. And I didn't know how or when, but I was going to do something along those lines. And I think that just consistency was what came next, like what brought.
Yeah. I remember one particular meetup, you coming home and really like, verbalizing that, like that you were just in a space where you felt very other. And I think, I don't know, I think that you grasping onto that and running with it was insightful and courageous. No, I think it was, I think it feels very you, that kind of feels like it was your what's it called? A niche, your niche, your thing. And so, you're at Groupon for 9 months. And I know you've had other opportunities since Groupon.
Yeah, I mean, one, because of your brother, remember? Jamie introduced me to Jen Dudley, who became eventually my manager for another role at Innova, where I was doing onboarding for software engineering with a little bit of education in there in the mix, and outreach and DI, kind of like to it all. It was a really interesting role, and I was there for about 2 years. But now, I work for Code for America, and I've been there for the last 6 months.
had quite a journey. I mean, from true trash bags coming to the city to where you are now, well, it's quite a journey. So, I mean, really thinking about like that journey, do you have any advice for people who might be interested in getting into the tech industry, like that are, you know, in Chicago or not in Chicago?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's challenging, you know, and it can be intimidating, especially when you don't know anything about it or you don't know anyone that works in it. If you're just the least bit curious, I would say to go for it and try it. Just try it. Do your best, you know, like to go to so many events and and try to get out there as much as possible and network, but reach out to anyone that might be willing to help. Like I'm always open to chatting with anyone that wants to come into tech. So I'm you know, I can also be a resource for people, but I feel like we need more people with different perspectives in tech and people of color for sure. That's issue, you know, that there's not a lot of people of color in tech. There's not a lot of women actually in technical roles either. So don't be scared, you know, like do it. I know it can be intimidating, especially for women, just because there's not a lot of resources out there for women and people of color that, you know, when they're trying to come into the industry. So I feel like, you know, find the people that are willing to kind of spend some time with you. I am one of them. Like I'd be happy to chat with anyone that is interested in learning more about the tech community, just because it can be very lonely. And I remember that being one of the challenges for me. So if, you know, building a community is incredibly important. So that's my advice. Build your community, show up for others too, and just do it.
I like that. It's good advice.
Thanks.
I mean, it's good advice anyway, but really good advice for the field. So if you could share, what's one of your your resources, your go-to resources that help you grow professionally, whether it's a book or a podcast?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many out there. When I was at Innova, actually, we had a free subscription to O'Reilly, and O'Reilly had a lot of different books available, and also even videos and panel discussions and things like that. So, and I actually, speaking of O'Reilly, I have the subscription again with Code for America. So if I'm ever curious about learning, I don't know, Excel or something, like I just go to O'Reilly and get a book and learn from it. Another resource, Udemy. Udemy is also this website that has a lot of different courses and that you can buy for like $9 when there's a sale. So I use that a lot for like upskilling and like anything when I want to learn something. Actually, when I wanted to create a podcast, I went to Udemy and bought a course on how to start a podcast and learned so much about it. So that's kind of like that was some of my favorite resources to kind of like stay relevant.
To stay relevant. I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that. So what's next for you? I mean, I know that you're happy at Code for America, but what are your future goals? What do you hope to work towards now?
Yeah. Oh, well, it's funny because I've said this before at talking to people, you know, and about goals and things. But I definitely see myself in a DEI role, you know, in the next 5 years. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. I've done part of the work already. I've done similar work already, you know, like with all the organizations that I volunteer with. Anita B, Latinas in Tech. So definitely working a DI role as a program manager or, I don't know, director or something along those lines. But that's just kind of always been a passion of mine. You know, educating more people about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you know, kind of providing guidance and resources to employees and employers, you know, about it. So that's a goal of mine.
Awesome. I can definitely see it. And thank you too for sharing this podcast and this space, because you know, I think whatever field you're in, you usually see people of success, you know, people having so much success, but it's really, I think, valuable to see how it happened and their journey, because it doesn't come from nowhere. So I think it's been a cool space for a lot of people.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I hope for that. That was kind of my first intention when wanting to do something new. I wanted to bring stories of people that normally you probably wouldn't see. We see a lot of directors and executives and CEOs and CTOs being in the news or being highlighted at panels, but I don't know. I wanted to talk to my colleagues. I wanted to talk to people that are the little people with me, and kind of watch them grow as well and succeed. But you're right, like from the beginning, and it was really nice. It's been really nice to have this as a source.
Very cool. So, can I ask this? Will there be a season 2?
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I obviously this is gonna close the year, but I am hoping to have a season 2. Starting back probably in February, just because this one started I think May, but I want to definitely start in February, depending on a variety of things, since we're moving to a new place, and the first month is usually crazy anyway, coming back. So hopefully in February or early March, starting with the Chicago Techies podcast season 2.
Very, very cool. So in the meantime, how can people connect with you? I know you're going to take a little bit of a holiday break, but how can people connect with you now and in the future?
Yeah, well, I am on LinkedIn. So the show is also on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram. So I am in all of those platforms. But I will put all the links in the show notes. But if anyone is ever interested in connecting and just chatting or want to learn more about something or even podcasting, feel free to drop me a note. I try to make time for everybody to respond to all my notes, and even meet with people if they have specific questions that they want to chat about.
Cool. Well, hey, thank you for having me interview you. I enjoyed it. I always enjoy talking with you.
Oh, thanks, babe. Well, thank you for being here and doing this. This is really cool. It's different being on the other side of the chair, but this is really fun.
I could tell you have some control issues. You really want to help me a lot.
All right. Well,
thank you.
Thanks, babe.
Thanks, babe.
And I just want to say, happy holidays to all of you. Happy holidays and happy New Year. I am really looking forward to next year and catching up with you all then. All right. Bye.